Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavika
Goswami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya.
Say Guru Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Radha Krishna Gopala Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Gauran Vrindavanam Jai Navadipnam Gijay Janam Sami Gijay Yimunamai Gijay Lasidevi Gijay Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Gijay Gaur Regananda Hariyadigol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we're reading from the 10th canto, chapter 1, text 17, famous verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Bhumir
Ramana Akranta Bhuri Bharena Brahmanam Sharanam Gaya
Bhumi
Mother Earth
Dripta Papta
Pavda
Ripa Vyaja posing as kings or the supreme power personified in the state.
or the supreme power personified in the state.
Vaidya of demons. Anika of military phalanxes of soldiers. Shata Ayutahai unlimitedly by many hundreds of thousands. Akranta being overburdened. Bhurivarena by a burden of unnecessary fighting power. Brahmanam unto Lord Brahma. Sharanam to take shelter. Yao went. Translation, once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. You can repeat. Once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. When the world is overburdened by unnecessary military arrangements, and when various demoniac kings are the executive heads of state, this burden causes the appearance of the Supreme Personality of God, as the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, text 7. Yadahi dharmasya manir bhavati bharata yithanam dharmasya atmanam shijanyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in the religious practice of descent of the Bharata and a predominant rise of your religion, at that time I appear myself. When the residents of this earth become atheistic and godless, they descend to the status of animals like dogs and hogs, and thus their only business is to bark among themselves. This is dharmasya bhavi, deviation from the goal of life. Human life is meant for attaining the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, but when people are godless and the presidents or kings are unnecessarily puffed up with military power, their business is to fight and increase the military strength of their different states. Nowadays, therefore, it appears that every state is busy manufacturing atomic weapons to prepare for a third world war. Such preparations are certainly unnecessary. They reflect the false pride of the heads of state. The real business of a chief executive is to see to the happiness of the mass of people by training them in Krishna consciousness in different divisions of life. Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text 13. A leader should train the people as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and engage them in various occupational duties, thus helping them progress toward Krishna consciousness. Instead, however, rogues and thieves in the guise of protectors arrange for a voting system. And in the name of democracy, they come to power by hook or crook and exploit the citizens. Even long, long ago, Asuras, persons devoid of God consciousness became the heads of state, and now this is happening again. The various states in the world are preoccupied with arranging for military strength. Sometimes they spend 65% of the government's revenue for this purpose. But why should people's hard-earned money be spent in this way? because of the present world situation, Krishna has descended in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. This is quite natural, for without the Krishna consciousness movement, the world cannot be peaceful and happy. So, Umir Trita Vyacha, Lechanika Shatari Dahani, Akranta Buddhi Varina, Ramanam Sharanam Yao. Omagana Chitaranda Shakanan China Shrokaya Chakshur and Minikan Yena Tasmai Shigarve Namaha. So in this fervor, Prabhupada quotes the Varnashram system. So in the Varnashram system, we understand how people with different qualities are given different positions, and if people with the wrong qualities are given the wrong positions, there's going to be havoc in society. For example, and also there's the checks and balances, before I give the example. There's the checks and balances between the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas. You know, if the Kshatriya gets out of hand, like in the case of King Vena, the Brahmanas will depose the Kshatriya. Sometimes deposing him means killing him with mantras. And sometimes it just means getting him out of the kingdom some way or other. But in any case, the Brahmanas would not take the position of the king afterwards. Like when the Brahmanas king killed King Vena, they didn't take the position of King Vena or the position of the king. They churned the body of King Vena to get Prithu Maharaj, and of course his wife. So that is very interesting that the Brahmanas don't take position. And the Kshatriyas, they take the position. However, for a Shudra or a Vaishya to be in charge of the government creates havoc because they become too proud because of all the opulences that go on with being the king, president, or prime minister, or whatever. Especially a Shudra. And of course, Queen Kunti prays that people become proud because of Janmaishvarya Shrutasya Shivire Manadapama. She said people become proud not only because of power position, but also because of opulence, money, Shrutasya, learning. And we see that sometimes someone who's very intelligent and become very proud of it. Even if they happen to be devotees or members of the Krishna consciousness movement. Janmaishvarya Shrutasya and Shribir, or if someone who happens to be very beautiful or handsome. These are very dangerous situations to be in, especially if someone is a Shudra. It's not that Shudras are necessarily stupid. I mean, this is sometimes a misunderstanding that people think the Shudras, they have no brains and they're stupid. But a Shudra may have a very high IQ. But what typifies as Shudra is not that his IQ, or less of an IQ, is a situation in the mode of ignorance. And what typifies a righteous situation in the mode of passion and ignorance, typifies a Kshatriya's situation in the mode of passion and the situation of passion. What a Brahman's qualities are that a Brahman is in the mode of goodness. So this is really the point. I mean, you may have a super intelligent, absolutely brilliant Shudra, but he's in ignorance. You understand? So don't judge someone by their IQ. Or you may have someone with a very low IQ who can't even read, who's in the mode of goodness. Like that story where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came across this Brahmin who was illiterate, but he had been instructed by his spiritual master to read the Bhagavad Gita on a regular basis. And practically speaking, he couldn't pronounce the words, didn't know the letters, and he was crying. And he wasn't crying because he was lamenting, because he couldn't read. He was crying because he was understanding the intimate relationship between Krishna and Arjuna. In this relationship, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, took a subservient position in relationship to Arjuna, and he was driving Arjuna's chariot. And so he was crying because of the love the Lord had for his devotee. That's why. And Lord Chaitanya said, even though you don't, or not able to read Bhagavad Gita, you're the real knower of the Bhagavad Gita. So in other words, you may have a completely illiterate Brahmin, or you may have a completely brilliant, absolutely brilliant PhD Shudra. You understand? It's a really important point. So obviously the heads of state, generally, they're pretty brilliant people. I mean, they're really highly educated, brilliant people. But what are their activities, and how are they controlled, even if they are or may have some higher tendencies, but they're controlled by the lower class of people, like Prabhupada comments here about democracy. Prabhupada is sometimes called democracy. That means you have the lower class people, the mode of ignorance, who are controlling the government because, they're voting and they're being manipulated by the Vaishyas, not actually Vaishyas, but people who are interested in financial gain. They're manipulated by them to vote in a certain way. So the whole system is really haywire. So here it's described that the earth is overburdened by hundreds of thousands of balances of various conceited demons. That's very interesting. We should try to understand what a demon is, because those who are not members of the Krishna conscious movement, those who are outside and hear the word demon, especially those who are not familiar with the Vedic nomenclature, they think that we're really crazy, because they hear us call different people demons, and their conception of a demon is someone with maybe horns or a forked tail, or or some horrendous visage. I mean, the way he looks is just like frightening. Like when I was young, we'd go to the horror houses and these different, state fairs or Disneyland, and you get frightened to death with a bunch of demons jumping at you as you ride in a car to the horror houses. So that's generally what we think demons are. But Krishna is actually very specific as far as his definition of demons, or different types of demons. There's not only one type of demon. There's different qualities of demons, or different things that indicate that someone has demoniac qualities. So I wanted to read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita so we can ascertain and understand what are demoniac qualities. Not so that we can go out and just point to people and say that you have demoniac qualities, or you're a demon, but so that we can actually see what demoniac qualities exist in our own consciousness. It's very important, because Krishna here listed demoniac qualities, and there's several verses in the 16th chapter, which incidentally is entitled Divine and Demoniac Natures. So let's start from the 7th text. In the 7th text, Krishna says, those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. We're going to analyze each of these texts. That's the first part. We'll analyze that. That means that they're not basing their decisions as what they should do in life on Shastra. They're just basing on their own mental concoction. Tyranny Krishna, those with the love, those with the Eta, Grahavatana, Dandako Virvishitam, Samashram Punas, Charvana. They keep doing things. In fact, it's described by Prahlad Maharaj. They keep repeating the same things over and over again, even though those things don't give them happiness. It was Einstein who described what insanity is, to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. That's Punas Charvana. So, in other words, they don't know because they're not accepting superior direction. What is to be done and what is not to be done. What is right, what is wrong. They have no conception of what is right and what is wrong, or a mental conception, mental concoction of what is right or wrong. Second half of the verses. So let's apply this to ourselves. That's the point I'm making. we're not guiding our lives according to the Vedic injunctions, then really that's a demoniac quality, because we don't know what is to be and what is not to be. We're speculating. I think I should do this, I think I should do that. Just like I was reading last night about some so-called sadhu who was recommending that it's all right to take marijuana. He said he was given marijuana by one of the famous marijuana acharyas from America. And I'm not going to mention names. And this marijuana acharya, anyway, they were actually marijuana acharyas during the 1960s, I remember that. He asked him, he said, is it all right to take this? And the sadhu says, but if it's too hot, like in India, it's not so good to take LSD. But, in the colder climates, I guess, it's all right. Don't take it when it's too hot outside. So, come on. Where is it? Where is the standard of right or wrong? Sometimes people talk about how morality has to change according to the times. Isn't it? This is one thing that, people say, well, it's the modern world. What may have been right or wrong before is maybe not right now. And what was wrong before is maybe right now. All these things, isn't it? So morality becomes rather relative. That's the point, relative morality. Like in certain cultures, it's all right to eat your grandfather, right? It's certain. That's probably talked about. He called it a love feast. He said they would have a love feast with their grandfather. They would throw him off the roof or something like that. I guess to soften up the flesh. And they would eat him. So that was considered. In Fiji was like that too. The first Christian missionaries who went there, they were prasad for food for the people. And then in some cultures, it's all right. It's considered very nice to eat your dog. But in America, you get arrested for eating your dog, right? Like if we were to have a roasted dog here, we'd end up in jail. But if we roast a pig, then the police will come over and enjoy with us, right? So it's all relative. So this is one of the things that disturbed me before I joined the Krishna Das movement. I said, everything is relative. Nothing is real, strawberry fields forever. And so someone who thinks like that morality is relative, this is really the point. What is to be done, what is not to be done. We're not talking about driving your car, whether you should get a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. That has nothing to do with Shastra. But we're talking about morality, ethics, human behavior, Vaishnava behavior. That's all according to Shastra. It's all according to Shastra. Even social interaction, etiquette. Like in the Western world, we don't have very little conception of etiquette. Parents are treated like, whatever, disposable entities. And then, someone's watching the film like the Mahabharata, and they remind you how there's this depiction of Vedic etiquette. It's very sweet. Like the younger people won't sit down before the older member of the family sits down. It's just a very sweet thing, but in America we think it's just very artificial, We're all one, but basically because we don't accept the Vedic injunctions, we have this demoniac consciousness. We don't respect elders, worship a person. Of course, and the Gita says those are the austerities of the body. So you respect your worshipful superiors. There's austerities of the mind, austerities of the body, austerities of speech, etc. Anyway, so that's the first point. We can speak about each one of these verses here. That makes us have demoniac quality. We don't follow proper injunctions and proper examples set by the acharyas. So the next part of the same verse is, neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. In other words, because in the Western world we have this false conception of cleanliness, where you can, you clean your house nicely, but you're eating meat, you're having illicit sex. We understand according to the Bhagavatam that illicit sex in Kali Yuga is the cause of uncleanliness. So we have this wrong conception. Cleanliness means actually Oma Pavitra Pavitrava Sarva Vashnam Gatovi Yaksmaret Pundavigaksha Zavaya Yantara Shuchi Shuchi. That always remembering Krishna, that's internal cleanliness. Having a clean heart as well as clean outside. And nor proper behavior. Same thing as what is to be done, what is not to be done. Nor truth. I mean, truth means not only that you don't tell a lie, but you try to understand what the absolute truth is that you speak it, not speculative knowledge. So that's the first verse. So we apply this to ourselves. Yeah, and this one is not really about ourselves, but they say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. And actually this is a scientist's opinion, not every scientist, of course, that, let's see, I was reading one book before I joined the movement, and it was, the book's name was The Naked Ape. Anyone's read this book? No one's read that. Many years ago. And it described why human beings developed to have less hair on their bodies because they were more sexually attractive. Do you remember that?
I can't remember the book. I think I read it.
Unfortunately, I have this nonsense memory that remembers all mundane things I've ever done, but not anything spiritual. But anyway, so it described the evolution. And it said the reason the creatures are evolving is because when they evolve, when they become more advanced, they become better at reproducing. That's basically the point. They can reproduce more. Like somehow or other, if you were to develop, colored feathers on your head, like a peacock, that you would attract more peahens or human hens or whatever. And then you get more, you can reproduce more. And that would be, and then human beings would evolve. All the men would have a, like peacock feathers. So I said, that's why peacocks are there. No, it's not like peacocks are there, with the many feathers and everything like that. It's Krishna designed it. And people have different desires, and therefore the souls are put in different types of bodies. But they're saying everything is happening because of reproduction. Basically, it's reproduction. Reproduction and survival of the fittest, the survival of the fittest, because the fittest get to reproduce, right? And the fittest get mates. And if you're not fit, you don't get a mate, right? That's the evolutionary theory, Darwin's theory. So here, this evolutionary theory is being described by Krishna. It's only, sex desire. That's why everything happens. All the species are there, and anyway, so the next one is, following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost in themselves and who have no intelligence, and we're not speaking about IQ here, we're speaking about the ability to discriminate shastra chakshush, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. And Prabhupada here talks about atom bombs, which he also mentions here in the purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The next one is taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige. Same thing mentioned here, of course. The demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. Just like we see in Syria, for example. The leader just wants to stay in position. And in order to do that, he's willing to employ chemical weapons, isn't it? To kill so many children. I mean, there's pictures of children who are just being gassed to death by these chemical weapons, which are supposedly illegal, whatever. Just because he wants to keep his impermanent position. I mean, a devotee, if he gets some clue that it's time to go, like Parikshit Maharaj, for example, he got a clue that it was time to go. And what did he do? He didn't say, I got to keep my position, lock me in a room where the snake bird can't get to me, you know, put some guards out. And actually there's some Hindu mythology that gives this other version of the story, and which is nonsense. Because Parikshit Maharaj was a pure devotee. He was always looking for Krishna. That's why he's called Parikshit, examiner. So instead of saying, you know, protect me, put people out with guns or bows and arrows and lock me in a room where no snake bird can get to. I mean, there's this crazy story that they do that with him. They put him on some big pillar or something like that, and the snake bird comes in an apple and it sneaks into his place. But anyway, that's not the actual story. He renounces everything. He's not attracted to the impermanent. He says, well, time to renounce and become Krishna conscious. You know, why should I fight for my life? Like Prabhupada said, this is an example of the devotees were talking in this conversation called the World War III conversation. And the devotees were saying to Prabhupada that if the bombs start falling, then everything becomes radioactive. And we won't have anything to eat, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, yes, you will die. And the devotees, you know, they couldn't really cope with that statement of Prabhupada, you know, and we will die. You know, Prabhupada said it nonchalantly. Nonchalantly means like, you know, something will die. What's the problem? And we're thinking, you know, we have to keep this body together no matter what. You know, head transplant, you know, whatever transplant, growth. Now they're talking about making organs for your body in a 3D printer. That's why Lochan has a 3D printer. He's going to be making kidneys for me. No heart, definitely need a heart. So isn't it? They're talking about that. Like, it's really amazing. They just want to keep the body going. And then people are asking the question, why should we live longer? I don't want to live longer in diapers, you know, in a difficult situation like that. And what's the use? I mean, there was one devotee who did a play one time about interviewing people who, one person was 220 years old or something like that. And the person was miserable. So the demon, they're just trying to keep his body going no matter what. That's what attracted to the impermanent. And lust. I mean, everything is in modern society is just based on the attraction, the lust, the attraction between men and women, or even men and men, women and women, and you advertise everything based on that. You know, even your camera, you buy a camera based on an attractive girl. What does an attractive girl have to do with a camera? I don't know. Or a computer. Isn't it? Or a set of clothes. Whatever. Anyway, so this is demoniac. And here's another one. To gratify their senses, the prime necessity of human civilization, teaching to be married, for tomorrow you may die, or beg, borrow, or steal, or get yourself some ghee, as Charles said. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires, and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy. This whole concept of friends and enemies. I have killed him. And my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, and I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules and regulations. And the final one. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. So, as I said before, this actually applies to us too when we develop these particular qualities. And I'll just give the example of one great associate of Lord Ramchandra. That was Vidvida Gorilla. Vidvida Gorilla and his brother Minda helped Lord Ramchandra conquer over Lanka. So what happened is Vidvida Gorilla, he had a very good relationship with Lord Ram. He loved Lord Ram. But he criticized Lakshman. He was proud of his strength. You know, obviously he's a big, strong gorilla. So he's proud of his strength, criticized Lakshman, and therefore he developed these demoniac qualities. Even though he served the Lord nicely. He did so much service, risked his life in conquering over Lanka, Ravana. But still, because he criticized the Lord's devotee, of course, Lakshman is Seshanad, Lakshman is Balaram, then he became demoniac and had to be killed by Balaram. And in the same way in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so what I'm saying is we have to be very careful. In the same way in the Charitamrita, it's described that those who have faith in Lord Chaitanya and don't have faith in Lord Nityananda, it's like demoniac. I mean, just a little thing like that. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, it's better to be an absolute atheist, which is interesting, and to have faith in one and not in the other. So in other words, devotional service is like the razor's edge. You have to be very, very careful. These qualities don't raise their ugly heads in our own consciousness, and be alert when they do, to cut them down, so that we don't commit offenses against devotees, so we don't develop these qualities, the bad qualities, and then Krishna will manifest in our hearts. Anyway, so Krishna appeared, according to this verse, when the earth became overburdened with these demoniac personalities. So any questions or comments about this? Yes?
I was listening to one of Prabhupada's memories, and I can't remember who it was. But this devotee asked about World War III also, and he asked, how should we prepare Srila Prabhupada? And Srila Prabhupada said, prepare to chant Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yeah, prepare to chant Hare Krishna. Devotees were just thinking, you know, we got to stockpile. I mean, just like even the, when we were supposed to have this Y2K thing, devotees were stockpiling. One devotee even took out a loan on the temple without GBC permission. Not here in North Carolina, don't worry. To buy a farm so he would have enough to eat. But he wasn't even intelligent enough because he didn't plant anything on the farm before the Y2K. You understand? So that, therefore, after the Y2K, so-called Y2K, the temple was in so much debt he had to just go crazy and try to collect and pay off the loans he took to buy the land. So the Y2K, and Prabhupada never advocated. Of course, we should keep some grains, obviously some stuff, but not that we should enter into the survivalist mentality. You know, what if the world comes to an end? And just like yesterday, I was reading about global warming and how North Carolina, we're going to have seashore here, literally. You know, by the year 2100 or something like that. So that'll be nice. I mean, the property will be worth a lot of money at that point. But, you know, I was thinking, well, maybe I should get some inflatable boats for the devotees. Or whatever. So, you know, it's not that we should get so much into the survivalist mentality. I mean, Krishna takes care of us. And we have to use some intelligence, but not that we lose our Krishna consciousness. And, you know, stockpiling food. And guns, too. Devotees sometimes, isn't it? They get guns. And so in case the people would come to Prashad, well, we should distribute food to people if they come, not that we shoot them. You know, if we have food, distribute it. Krishna will provide more. Believe me. Krishna provides more. I mean, it's not that there will be any lack. And if we have to eat a little less, that's okay. We'll be healthier. Yeah.
In Mayapur, of course, we had trouble with, you know, people, the Muslims for a while, but now we distribute so much prasadam that even the Muslims who don't share the same beliefs at all, they love the roti.
Yeah. Because whenever there's a flood or something like
Yeah.
distribute prasadam. So that's a time to preach. Prabhupada's preaching will be very good during the natural Holocaust. On that happy note, yes, the chant argument, the bombs fall, chant argument, better chant argument. What are you going to do? Take your guns out and shoot at the bombs? When death comes, we welcome it.
Yes.